When Anthony Richardson heard his name called fourth overall in the 2023 NFL Draft, it was a dream come true, not just for him, but for a Colts fan base that was tired of Band-Aid quarterbacks. The 6'4", 240-pound quarterback who ran a 4.4 at the Combine had everyone's jaw dropped of how great he could become. But Richardson has struggled greatly in Indianapolis and is scarring Colts fans into thinking they have the next Trey Lance on their hands. So, what went wrong, and how bad is Anthony Richardson actually? Physical freaks will always garner the attention of NFL scouts and front offices. A quarterback who can launch the ball 70 yards on one play and bulldoze a linebacker on the next is a rare commodity. That's exactly what the Colts opted for in Anthony Richardson. However, that same skill set appears to be earning him the benefit of the doubt, not awarded to almost any other quarterback with such a concerning statistical resume. And don't get it twisted, I'm not saying that we should all give up on Richardson. Some quarterbacks need time to grow into the most demanding position in all of sports. However, whatever way you want to look at it, the Indianapolis Colts have to be very concerned about their selection of Anthony Richardson in the 2023 NFL Draft. Between his durability issues, historically terrible accuracy, and even tapping out of a play, Richardson has done very little to suggest he is the future of the franchise. Yes, he may well have produced one of the best throws in NFL history, but highlights like that are few and far between, and the lowlights are far more frequent. The Anthony Richardson era in Indy has been volatile. He entered the draft after just 1 year of starting experience, boasting a physical profile that made him one of the most unique quarterbacks to ever enter the draft. Standing at 6'4" and weighing 244 pounds, Richardson is built more like a defensive end, but his low 4.4 speed and the 40-yard dash made him salivate some NFL teams all the more. This man could fly, and at a size that would make him one of the most dangerous dual-threat quarterbacks in the entire NFL from day one. His statistical profile wasn't quite as spotless, though. In college, Richardson went 6-6 in his 1 year as a starter in 2022 for the Florida Gators, completing just 54% of his passes for 2,549 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, while also collecting 654 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground. For context, his passing yards total landed him 65th amongst college quarterbacks. More concerning, though, was his completion rate, which ranked Richardson 85th amongst the 87 quarterbacks who played over 300 snaps in that 2022 college season. When you factor in the lack of experience, Richardson was viewed as a risky boom or bust project. Still, NFL teams always want to shoot for the upside, and there was plenty of that, so Indianapolis pulled the trigger with their 4th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. The Colts expected new head coach Shane Steichen to develop Anthony Richardson and find success as he had with his former team in Philly with Jalen Hurts. Richardson joined a Colts team that was fresh off a messy 2022 campaign in which the team produced just 4 wins, not helped by the fiasco of former player and TV analyst Jeff Saturday coming in for a brief stint as head coach after the firing of Frank Reich. The season overall was forgettable. Richardson was the man tasked with saving the franchise, joining a talented enough offense that had a number 1 receiver in Michael Pittman Jr., a stud running back in Jonathan Taylor, and the exciting Josh Downs, another rookie at the receiver position. While Jonathan Taylor would be unavailable for the early stages of the season, starting out on the PUP list and undertaking a messy contract dispute, there was still plenty to work with, and Zach Moss proved a very useful fill-in at running back. Things got off to a pretty good start, with Richardson celebrating his debut by recording his first career touchdown with his legs at the beginning of the second quarter, before going on to complete 65% of his passes for 223 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, to go along with 40 yards and the score on the ground. His strong arm was on full display when firing a strike to Kylen Granson over the middle of the field, and he showcased what a powerful runner he could be when converting on 4th and 5 with his legs inside the final 2 minutes of the game. 3 defenders could do nothing to stop him. Despite all of this being in a losing effort, there was plenty to be excited about for Colts fans who saw all of the upside in Richardson's game in that debut. Then, 1 week later, glimpses of the rare dual-threat ability were on full display again as Richardson dashed in not one but two very nice rushing touchdowns. The only problem was that the second of these touchdowns included a bang to the head that would ultimately end up ruling him out for the game with a concussion. This kick-started a frustrating trend for Richardson that would persist all the way into his second season. You see, that concussion kept him out of Week 3 as well, and after delivering a nice game in Week 4 against LA, he was back on the sidelines halfway through Week 5. This time, he was taken out of the game because of a shoulder injury, which turned out to be an AC joint sprain that would stick him on IR and cause him to miss the remainder of the season. Colts fans got just 4 games of the Anthony Richardson experience as a rookie, and he was only able to complete 2 of them. In those games, he produced 577 passing yards, 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, and 136 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. It was enough to tease the franchise with the immense upside that AR could bring to the table, but the full evaluation was now pushed into the 2024 season. Colts fans were thrilled with the possibilities. Coach Steichen proved that he could coach and lead an effective offense under Gardner Minshew. They were only 1 play away from advancing into the playoffs in 2023, but they fell short in Week 18 to the Houston Texans. The fact that Steichen kept the team competitive and in the hunt with Minshew was telling. A quick jump forward to seeing how Gardner Minshew played in Las Vegas with the Raiders under Antonio Pierce will show you how good of a coach Shane Steichen really is. Going back to the start of the 2024 season, the expectations and hopes were high for Richardson. Just as he had done in 2023, Richardson opened up the 2024 campaign with a bang, delivering a truly jaw-dropping touchdown strike to Alec Pierce that traveled 65 yards in the air according to Next Gen Stats. That is the 3rd longest throw in the Next Gen Stats era, and the fact that it came from a closing pocket without a solid platform tells you all you need to know about how freakish Richardson's arm strength is. That epitomized the thrilling upside to Richardson's game, turning a bad situation into one of the best scoring plays of the year. The downside, though, is that he completed just 9 of 19 passes in the game at a rate of 47.4%. That was an unfortunate trend that stuck throughout the 2024 season, with Richardson closing out the regular season with a completion rate of 47.7%, which equated to a dismal 1,818 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Of course, the threat of Richardson's legs can't be forgotten, with him also contributing 499 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground. But that did little to dispel the concerns surrounding the sophomore quarterback. Richardson's inaccuracies meant that easy layups and short completions were not just an option. Shane Steichen could scheme up open receivers, only for Richardson to fire the ball at the dirt or way over their heads. This would lead to unfavorable 3rd down situations and stalled drives. There were also signs of Richardson simply not understanding what the defense was giving him, throwing into double and triple coverage and not reading DB leverage correctly. For example, choosing to target the out route when the cornerback had lined up with outside leverage pre-snap. Then, when he does find the right guy to throw to, he can't hit him because he doesn't play with anticipation well, instead having to see him get open before pulling the trigger. It is a full concoction of sloppy quarterback fundamentals producing very poor accuracy. You simply can't survive in the NFL without completing over 60% of your passes. According to former PFF employee Austin Gale, Anthony Richardson's combined completion percentage of 50% at the point he was benched ranked him 222nd among the 225 quarterbacks with at least 250 dropbacks since the year 2000. His passer rating of 61.6 in 2024 was lower than every other starting quarterback to play more than 10 games, and a whopping 17.8 lower than the next worst, Daniel Jones. Even Deshaun Watson, who played just 7 games, managed to post a passer rating of 79, despite being ridiculed by fans and the media for his efforts on the field. For Richardson to post a passer rating as low as 61.6 is a damning reflection of just how bad the decision to draft him was by the Colts. Yes, he adds value with his legs, and it would be unfair to not praise him for his impressive 2 rushing touchdown effort to will the Colts to a win over the Jets in Week 11 of the 2024 season, but there's only so far his legs can take him, especially when you factor in how many injuries he has struggled with. arguably the biggest concern wasn't the low completion percentage or the fact he threw more interceptions than touchdowns, but instead the fact that he finished the season on the sidelines yet again. Joe Flacco was the man tasked with seeing out the 2 final games of the season, including one crucial game against the New York Giants that the Colts needed to win to keep their season alive, which they ultimately lost. Not only that, but Flacco also had to fill in 5 more times during the regular season for a variety of injuries, and one even more bizarre reason. In Week 8 against the Colts' divisional rival, Houston Texans, Richardson completed just 10 of 32 passes for 175 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. His biggest mistake, though, was removing himself from the game on a crucial 3rd and goal as he needed a breather. The team was down by 10 points at the time, and his decision to remove himself because he was tired came under immense criticism from all angles. This criticism included players in the locker room, resulting in head coach Shane Steichen deciding to bench his sophomore quarterback for a couple of games. All in all, it was a mess. Richardson had lost the locker room, and despite being in a race for the playoffs, the coaching staff felt obliged to bench him. What was a more damning indictment of the disastrous situation, though, was that people genuinely thought Joe Flacco might give the Colts a better chance to win. Richardson had overseen just 2 wins and 3 losses, not completing over 50% of his passes in any of his completed games, and throwing 7 interceptions to just 4 touchdowns. He completed just 31% of his passes in the game he tapped out in against Houston, and even in a win the week before against Miami, he completed 41.7% of his passes and didn't contribute a touchdown. Meanwhile, in the 3 games that Flacco had played in, the team had won twice, averaging 27 points per game. The fact of the matter was that the passing game just flowed so much better with the veteran Flacco under center. Unfortunately, the case of Anthony Richardson is another point of evidence that suggests experience at the college level is crucial. Trey Lance was a bust after playing just 1 season in college, just like Richardson. Meanwhile, you have stories like Brock Purdy in San Francisco, who has thrived after being overlooked and falling to the 7th round, despite 4 good years starting at Iowa State. Similarly, in 2024, Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix both thrived and took their teams to the playoffs after enjoying 5 years of experience at the collegiate level. Of course, there is more than just experience that goes into these outcomes, but it's hard to look at the raw and volatile first couple of seasons from Anthony Richardson and not think another year of starting experience at college would have helped. Instead, he came out early and has proven to be one of the most unreliable quarterbacks in NFL history, failing to complete even some of the easiest passes. Anthony Richardson is giving Jamarcus Russell a run for the biggest bust in NFL history. Although Jamarcus had deeper character concerns and a lack of work ethic, Richardson needs to do whatever it takes to get his career back on track and become a promising player before it's too late. When you factor in his inability to stay healthy and the controversial decision to tap out of a game, you have to wonder whether the Colts regret their decision to draft him. Only time will tell if he can turn it around. But what do you think? Is Anthony Richardson the next Trey Lance, or could he revive himself into becoming the next Andrew Luck? Thank you for staying till the end. You'll want to watch one of these.